here's what I worry about with, what we've learned about Palestinians and what we've seen evidence of is that we've seen the polls, whatever, 75, 80% of them are all like, yay, Hamas, they did the right thing on October 7th. And we know that they start teaching their itty bitty babies to hate Jews. We know
Mhm,
this.
mhm.
So assuming that, the stated goal of Netanyahu is to eradicate Hamas, how do you actually do that when it starts so young? How do you separate innocent Palestinians from their government? How do you do that?
Okay, so that's a great question. Remember, I'm not a politician. I'm not a professional. I'm not an expert like some people are. But at the human level, I'll tell you this: what you said is absolutely correct. You used the word Jews, which is very important. Arabs are the Muslims in the Middle East, for the most part. We're trying not to make generalizations, but for the most part, there's a shtick against the Jews that goes back hundreds and almost around 1,000 years. Okay, the Jews did not accept Islam in a time where religion was everything. So we have been hated for quite a while. There's also a lot of honor
Yeah.
and tribalism in Arab Muslim culture. We now have Israel, which was determined by the UN in 1948. We didn't steal land. It was the world, It was accepted by the Jewish
Right.
people who built the state. The partition plan was rejected by Arabs. There was war. We won, and we've been winning ever since. Great. I'm answering your question. Just takes a little bit of a thing. Now, the hatred is passed on from generation to generation by family members who are not moving on, and institutionalized hatred by leaders. The textbooks in these in Gaza and also sanctioned by the Palestinian Authority to a great extent, don't show Israel on the map. It shows Palestine. Okay. So how will that change? Much like it did in Germany in the Second World War. You have to defeat the Nazis, right? And then you can deprogram, de-radicalize, re-educate with a concerted effort by the world, which is what happened in the Second World War, pretty much afterwards, over the course of decades. So what's going to need to happen is Israel and all free-thinking people who believe in Western values and Western civilization have to join us in this fight against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Qataris who have been funding this. Anyone, follow the money, follow the Nazis. Honestly, these people are a blend of jihadists and Nazis, and it's no accident that these guys were collaborating before the Second World War, and it's blown it up into what it is today. They need to be defeated. You cannot defeat an entire ideology. There are still Nazis in the world, but you can crush the leadership and you can make it much harder for them. Then Gaza needs to be, I believe, if Gaza remains in with the Palestinians, because Israel doesn't want Gaza at all, it needs to be a combination of countries and leadership with oversight to make sure that hatred and the education of hatred and the funding of hatred does not happen again. One last thing I'll say, Miriam. You've been saying, wow, look at those underground tunnels, right? You've been talking about the tunnels built under Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
Just so that your viewers get a sense. For almost 20 years, Hamas has received billions of dollars in funding, okay, to serve the Palestinian people. Now, they didn't just build tunnels. These tunnels are bigger than the entire London Underground. Can you imagine how much concrete, how much planning, how much construction, the workers, they knew, the people knew. This was something that was educated, planned hatred. And then
Yeah.
when the missiles started flying from Israel, not the missiles, the rockets and the army came in, not immediately after October 7th, Hamas hid in these tunnels and
Mm-hmm.
purposely put those people, their people, outside of these tunnels to make this world movement against Israel that you're
Mm-hmm.
all seeing happen. It's not mind boggling, guys. It's
Yeah.
not unbelievable. It makes sense. It's very believable. It's happening. When people hate and are allowed to hate, this happens. When people are allowed to hate in the 30s, millions, tens upon tens upon tens of millions of innocent people will die. That is where we're headed. So the answer to your question in short is there needs to be a coalition of not armies, a coalition of people who are for freedom and tolerance, no matter what faith you're from, to coexist and to make things better. That's the only way. It cannot be Israel on its own. Everyone
Yeah.
loses. Everyone loses. If Israel loses, everyone loses. The only people that will win are the people who want division and hatred and death. It's that simple. People need to understand that we're not lunatics. I'm a very grounded human being, and this is
Mhm.
true. It's just you can't imagine it happening, but it's happened before. It's starting to happen now. But I believe that
Yeah.
we can wake up. I believe that your audience can make a difference.
Yeah, listen, education starts at home. And we firmly believe that. I do. My kid isn't taught a lot of this stuff in school. So it's my responsibility to teach her. It's my responsibility to teach all my children, my kid and my stepkids, all of these things that they're not taught on TikTok, that they're not taught, because TikTok's teaching them just the opposite. They're teaching them to be freaking Nazis. So, it's my responsibility to teach my children all the things that you just said, everything that you just said. And I think it's everybody's responsibility to do that, because the mainstream media is not going to do it. Social media is not going to do it. It's our responsibility as good humans to teach our children these things, and then to give them the critical thinking skills to say, question everything that you are
Yes,
fed in
yes.
life, from all these different sources, because it's probably a safe bet that a lot of it's a lie at this point. And a lot of it is, especially in America. It's disgusting what American media puts out there. We just talked this morning about, like, CBS they put garbage out there. A lot of our mainstream media is just garbage. And so we have to combat that too. And so
It's raining. It's
It's a
it's
raining.
an
tall order.
uphill. Yeah, it's an
It's
uphill
raining.
battle.
Yeah. Listen,
Yeah,
I'm not very popular right
it
now,
is.
but I'm not interested in ratings. I'm interested in my children exactly like you are, Amy. And this thing here, this thing is
Hmm.
something that is very dangerous if parents don't monitor. Yes, you can say that you can monitor. That's not a
Yep.
bad thing. That's what my parents did with me. They monitored how much TV time, where I was, who I was hanging out with, so
Hmm.
that I would grow up to be, hopefully a decent and kind individual. And I wouldn't let them be hijacked by misinformation and quite frankly, evil. TikTok to me is evil.
Right.
I did a LinkedIn post about this where I challenged one of the senior directors, and you should check out my LinkedIn for that comment. And I went on TikTok recently to monitor, and I put up a post where I don't think that you've felt any hate from me, right? I put out a very
No.
rational thing.
Oh my gosh, no.
I have gotten a slew of hatred, which is just that's that's what they want.
That's the
Fuel
point.
the anger.
Mind-boggling. Yeah.
But not mind-boggling. Stop saying mind. It's not mind-boggling. It makes complete sense. It makes
And
complete
well,
sense.
I guess on some of these social medias, I guess it does, because we get it too. We get death threats and all that kind of stuff too.
That's
So
same.
you're right. It shouldn't be. It's not mind-boggling. It's just, at this point, it's probably just part of. It's just part of the game, right?
And you can fight it. And people can fight it. People
Hmm.
can make a difference. I know I'm harping on about it, but
Right.
really hope that people take what people like myself are doing, and these brave individuals going to these demonstrations are doing, to try and save your way of life and your viewers' way of life and my way of life as we know it, because it's silent, it happens slowly, and then one day you wake up and it's
Yeah.
Hmm.
gone. One day you
Yep.
wake up and you don't have that freedom. You can't go to your class because you're wearing a Star of David. You
Uh,
can't vote for the person that you want to because those people in power shut that person down. It happened with Hitler. Hitler took over. he became a dictator. It wasn't a dictatorship before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People can make a difference if they speak up. Everyone needs to speak up. Everyone
And
needs to
listen, I look at it this way. I'm a Christian, and I think, and I will say to people, you think it stops at the Jews? I mean, it's these people don't have any tolerance for Christians either. So, I mean, it's like, this is how I feel in a free America. At some point, it's like I may wake up and because I'm wearing a cross, they're not going to have any tolerance for me. So it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop with Jews. I mean, I really don't think it does with these people.